Hey guys, just want to say thank you so much for the support so far. This next podcast is going to be with my friend Zach Parker. We're going to look at Game 7 between Boston and Miami. Get your thoughts on that, and then we're going to preview the finals. Let's check it out. I hope you guys enjoy episode 10 with Zach Parker. Welcome back, everybody. I got Zach Paukert joining me today. Little pre-NBA Finals podcast here before Game 1. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Lots of stuff to talk about today.
Yes, I'm so excited. A lot has happened since my last podcast. The Celtics ended up winning Game 7. What a game that was. Oh my goodness. Jimmy Butler was unreal, but was not enough. Zach, what were your thoughts on that Game 7 and some of your takeaways from that series and Boston advancing over Miami?
Yeah, well, first of all, we got to give credit to what Jimmy Butler was able to do all series. That run he had was unreal. But getting down to it, why Miami wasn't able to close it out, Kyle Lowry didn't show up. Bam Adebayo was a ghost when the Celtics had their bigs healthy and playing. He disappeared, but Jimmy Butler pretty much put the team on his back for 7 games of that series and wasn't able to get it done, sadly. As for Boston, congrats to them. They advanced. They played a good series. They played a decent series. Obviously, their defense was very good, like it usually is, number one in the NBA. But their game management in that Game 7, blowing that lead, I just did not think was ran very well. Marcus Smart, I love him as a player. Great defensive player of the year. Can score the basketball for sure. But he had no business shooting all those shots in those final minutes. Even though they were sending some doubles at Tatum and Brown, you got to find a way to set up your offense for your best players when it's a Game 7 with 2 minutes left.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I want to also credit Jimmy Butler. That Game 6 game before Game 7 was absolutely amazing. I mean, I really thought Miami had no chance heading into Boston Game 6. I mean, everyone was riding off the heat. Draymond Green said on his podcast, we were going to get the Celtics, which they eventually did, but shout out to Jimmy Butler carrying them to even a Game 7.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I agree with what you're saying. But that's what we've come to learn from Jimmy Butler is when everyone's counting him out, that seems when he plays his best basketball. If you remember back to the bubble, I can't remember if it was Game 3 or Game 4 versus the Lakers where he just went crazy and absolutely carried the Heat to a win when everyone wasn't giving him a chance to even win a game in that series.
yeah, he's really proved. I mean, I think he had a disappointing playoffs last year, but he proved to me he's easily a top 10 player this year.
Agreed.
But also, I think, I feel like I'm really interested with Boston just because I don't know. I just felt like in this series, they kind of shrunk in big moments and just kind of made it. I think if Tyler Hero plays, I think it's a little different. Maybe I think Miami maybe could have pulled it out. I don't know. I'm just interested with Boston. It just felt like they got really tight in moments, in the big moments. So I think that's going to be a big story point coming into the finals here with can they find ways to execute against a Warriors team who has been to the finals multiple times and has been in the big moments. I also think, Marcus Smart took some questionable shots, but I think Marcus Smart, he's not their most valuable player, but he is like the most important player. He puts everything together for them, it feels like. He is so important to their team. The only thing with Boston is I'm a little worried offensively if they can keep up with the Warriors. Just it's going to be super interesting to watch and see that. But I was honestly really impressed with the Heat. Really impressed with Jimmy Butler. I mean, I I was really impressed. They battled, and man, did they have a lot of injuries. It looked like after
Yeah,
game three, it looked like they were, game three, game four, it was like, okay, I don't know what the Heat have left in them,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hats off to Miami. They played a hell of a series, and they got some fighters on that team, man. Jimmy Butler's heart's just unreal, and the Celtics, they definitely have some things to clean up going into Golden State, an experienced finals team. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they've all been there so many times. And that experience is going to help Golden State, and the Celtics got to be playing their best basketball to win this series, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to break that down real quick, game seven and that past series. But let's get into the finals,
Mm-hmm.
of course. This is a I think this is kind of the series that, the NBA wanted,
Mm-hmm.
kind of the old Celtics with tradition and then the new era of the Warriors that have been dominant the last 5 years in the NBA. What are you looking forward to? Is there any matchups you're looking forward to? Just kind of break down what you're looking for in game one and the series coming up, Zach.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited for this matchup because I think everyone thinks Golden State's going to win this in five or six, even, but I actually think Boston matches up very, very well versus Golden State. Um, if you look at it defensively, we got Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are also capable defenders. Jaylen Brown being a great defender, in my opinion. They're going to be a key to playing Golden State, I feel like, is being able to switch screens with Golden State's three guards. I think you need to be able to switch those screens, and I feel like Boston is going to be able to do that. Also, what Golden State did a lot versus Dallas is they literally waited for Luka to switch on to whoever and would just attack Luka. I don't see a weak link on the Celtics that Golden State's going to be able to do that with. So I think Boston matches up there very well defensively. But then again, the shooters at Golden State are going to give Boston some problems. Especially, I think a key to Boston is transition defense, is picking up and locating shooters in transition. That's going to be Golden State's going to try to get a lot of points off of that, and I feel like Boston needs to try to limit that.
Yeah, some very good points there. Yeah, I agree with the matchups part. I think they have a solid seven guys that can kind of switch everything on the Celtics, which I think is very important playing the Warriors. My thing is back to what I said in the introduction. I just don't know. Boston can struggle to score, and when they struggle to score, the Warriors, they're not the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
They got guys like Steph, Clay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Wiggins, Jordan Poole. All those guys can score.
Yeah,
So I'm a little worried with them keeping up offensively because of the firepower on offense. I think the Warriors defense is pretty underrated too, just with their small ball lineup.
yeah,
So I'm just excited to see kind of
yeah,
what they do, the Celtics lineups with that small ball lineup of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson,
mm-hmm.
Poole, Wiggins, and
Yeah,
Draymond. So I don't. Are they going to play Al Horford and Robert Williams at the same time? We'll have to see.
yeah.
But
I feel like they're going to play Robert Williams and Al Horford at the same time, depending on what Golden State does. I mean, I really do think Golden State's going to stick with Looney and Draymond Green in that starting lineup. So I feel like Horford and Williams will stay there and they'll play a lot together. Another thing, you made a good point about Boston being able to try to keep up scoring with Golden State. Um, yeah, that's a huge key for them. But also in a 7 game series, there's going to be times where they're going to struggle scoring. And Golden State, as they've proven so many times year in and year out, they're a team that can go on explosive runs. But the key to beating the Warriors is how you handle and how you respond to those explosive runs they go on. That's when team leaders like Tatum and Brown need to step up, get their team together, calm their team down, and handle their runs, which I thought Dallas did a horrible job of. Every time Golden State went on a big run, Dallas just looked defeated. So I think that's going to be another big key for Boston.
yeah, I mean Boston. Boston's going to have to score in the half court,
Mm-hmm.
like you said earlier. They're going to have to be efficient on offense, and I think Golden State they're gonna key in on Tatum and just say Andrew Wiggins, just do what you can and just throw different guys at him. But I'm pretty confident Tatum's gonna have a 30, 40 point game at least in this series. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's gonna be one game that Tatum is just gonna win alone for the Celtics, in my thoughts at least. So if Marcus Smart, if he can get them up to 20, that's when I think the Celtics are going to be really hard to beat. But my gut right now is going Golden State in 6.
Yeah. So this is a tough one for me. Um, I really, at this point, am leaning towards Golden State, but I could see Boston very well winning this series. Um, I'm interested to see what Golden State's going to do defensively, also as well versus Boston. Um, as you saw when they were playing Luca, they were sending doubles left and right, trying to get the ball out of his hands. And I wonder if they're going to have that same mentality going against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But the thing is about that is I do feel like Boston's got just more weapons than Dallas had. And it was easier for Golden State to say, all right, we're going to go out and pressure him. We're going to go out double team, get the ball out of Luca's hands, and we're going to let others beat us. But so we'll see if that's how they choose to handle this. I also feel like if Andrew Wiggins continues to play the basketball that he's been playing, I don't see Golden State losing the series at all.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm looking really forward to the game Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, guys, I got Zach Paukert on here. Zach, thank you so much for joining.
Appreciate it.
I want to get your I want to get your thoughts real quick. Um, let's go back to Game 7. What did you think, real quick, about Jimmy Butler's shot selection? Did you like it? I loved it, just because.
Yeah, I love the shot selection. Jimmy Butler obviously was extremely tired. I think his whole thought process going in there was, we're down 2. I'm going to take this 3. I want to end this in regulation. I think he thought that they weren't going to be able to pull it off in overtime. He was tired. He didn't want overtime. It was a good look for 3, and although he's not the best 3-point shooter, he's a very capable 3-point shooter. And at the end of the day, he's the best player on the team. He was the reason they were in that game in Game 7, and hey, he has the right to take that shot.
Right. I mean, he's the guy that kind of got him there, like we were saying earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I liked it as well. I mean, man, that guy's toughness is, and I know he was playing with injuries. That
Mm-hmm.
was quite something. Another thing I'm looking forward to, is where's Steph Curry's legacy? If they win another ring here, he hasn't won Finals MVP, which I don't think really
I
matters too
don't
much
think
in my
finals.
opinion.
I hate when people bring up that argument. Finals MVPs. Who cares? he's a
I
he's
I
a
agree.
2-time MVP. Screw a
Well,
Finals
not
MVP.
yeah. I mean, the guy changed how we play basketball today. He took big men almost out of the game entirely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hearing all that, and I'm really excited to. Hopefully, he can win it though. That'll be really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But we're gonna get real quick to some draft analysis because my friend Zach here is a big Seattle Seahawks fan.
Go Hawk.
Real quick, can you give me just 30 seconds on your thoughts on the Seahawks, real quick, in the draft?
In the draft or overall right
Yeah.
now?
What did you think of their offseason? Let's just go with
All
that.
right. Well, it was an interesting offseason for Seattle for sure. I wasn't the biggest fan of getting rid of Russell. If you ask me, I thought get rid of Pete over get rid of Russell, but here we are, pretty much quarterbackless right now. But all in all, I didn't think the Seahawks had a horrible draft. They addressed the offensive line, which kind of like it was good to see, but it kind of just made me think Russell was begging for an offensive line the whole time he was here. And now when Russell's gone, we choose to address the line. So that was a little interesting to me. But I mean, Cross and Abraham Lucas out of Washington State are going to be key additions to the offensive line there. And yeah, they added some weapons. I thought they had a decent draft. I mean, a lot of people were very skeptical on their choice to draft a running back. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of uh, paying or like drafting running backs too much. I don't think running backs are that valuable in the NFL. I think running backs are very replaceable, but I mean, there was an explosive weapon there, so they took it. Um, yeah, I thought it was a very mediocre draft.
Right, yeah. You and Travis have definitely different perspectives. I agree. I think Pete Carroll is a little bit in the Bill Belichick where he's got a little too much power upstairs ever
Agreed.
since Paul Allen passed away. It's been a little
And I think that is also a reason why Russell left. Because I think Pete's got too much power and Russell didn't like it. And going over to Denver with their head coach situation, it's going to be a lot's going to be in Russell's hands. So I think that's what really brought him to Denver.
right, it's gonna be exciting. But let's get back to the draft. Zach, who do you think I want you to go first. Who do you think what team were you most impressed with in the draft and why did you like their draft over everyone else?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. Um, they addressed their defense very well. I love the pick of Trent McDuffie. I think he's got potential to be the best cornerback in this draft. Um, they got a late round pick, Jalen Watson out of Washington State. Got to throw in the Coug shout out there. Sky Moore, wide receiver, and Brian Cook. And yeah, what was that? What's that pass rusher's name? George Calardis, or yeah, something. George something. I forgot how to pronounce his last name. He's a beast, and yeah, I think they had just addressed their defense, which they needed to do, and added Sky Moore, who can be a huge weapon for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Well, you can't always replace Tyreek Hill, but you can add some more weapons for sure. I'm actually going to go with the Jets here. I really liked their draft. I really liked just their first three picks. I like Sauce Gardner. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL. Um, I just really liked, he showed a lot against Alabama when he was at Cincinnati, and I just think he's a good corner. I think they drafted really well position wise. I mean, they took a corner, which you need with Tyreek Hill in the division now, and so many good receivers out there in that division. And then they took Garrett Wilson at 10, which I really like. Getting another receiver for Zach Wilson, I think is important. And then they went edge with Jermaine Johnson. So I think those, with they addressed quarterback, they addressed cornerback, receiver, and on the edge the last 2 years in the draft. I think they just nailed it out the park. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
got a really tough division, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets take a big step this year.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they had a great draft, and I'm super high on Sauce Gardner as well. In a couple mock drafts, I had him going to the Hawks, which got me very happy and excited. But I just knew there was no way he was going to actually drop all the way to pick 9.
Right, right. Um, let's also stick with the draft. Give me real quick what team got the biggest steal in the draft and why. Give me one guy that you're like, can't believe he fell this far.
This sounds super biased, but I'm going to go Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati to the Seahawks. He's a 6'1 cornerback. And let's not forget, he won the Jim Thorpe Award for best defensive back in the country. And he fell all the way late to Seattle, and I think that was a steal of a draft pick by Seattle, honestly.
Okay, yeah, I was pretty shocked he fell that far too. But I'm gonna go with Kyle Hamilton at
Yeah.
14. I mean, I could not believe he was still on the board. Like you could argue this guy is maybe the best defensive guy in the draft. Maybe this kind of reminds me of when like Derwin James dropped
Mm-hmm.
in the draft on the Chargers. Like he was just so solid. I mean, I would not be shocked if he makes a big impact in the
Yeah.
NFL like Derwin
Hmm.
James did
Yeah,
immediately.
I also thought the
Um,
Ravens had a really good draft starting off with him. I mean, I didn't expect him to slide to where he did. I thought he was going to get drafted earlier, but wow, what a DB for Baltimore. I think he's going to have an immediate impact on that team. And yeah, you're right. That was a sleeper pick, and he slipped, and I think he's going to be a great player.
yeah, I'm really excited to see um,
Mm.
see what happens with the Ravens. I mean, sometimes going to better teams and you sliding is the best thing in someone's
Mm-hmm.
career. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
see. I think the Ravens are gonna
Mm-hmm. I,
be back in the
I got a
hunt.
question for you, Dane, really quick. What do you think
Yes.
about the whole Malik Willis situation and him sliding out in the draft?
Um, I think Tennessee. I mean, living here in Florida
Mm.
now, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens in Tennessee with, uh, you know, Tannehill and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I don't think Tannehill is very talented, but they got a good culture there in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not I'm not hating on Tannehill for what his comments are, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's his 100% job to mentor a backup. Like,
Yeah.
of course, he's going to help him out and stuff, but I think all this stuff about, like, oh, he went way too far. What a douchebag saying
No.
that. Like,
Yeah.
no, he's fighting for his job. Like, he's going to have to earn
One
it.
hundred
He's not going to give
percent.
up his job just because they drafted a
And I
quarterback.
saw Malik Willis too came out and said in an interview that he was like, "Yeah, first of all, no hard feelings there. Tannehill actually had him and other quarterbacks over at his house for dinner." And the reason being he said those words is because Tannehill wants to complete. Both players get better when they treat it like a competition instead of Malik learning from Tannehill. Why don't they just compete against each other and make it competitive and push each other to get better every day? I think that's what Tannehill was getting at, not necessarily saying that he doesn't care about Malik Willis. I think it was taken very much out of proportion and just exploded by the media there.
Yeah, the media went way too far with that one. Zach, let's wrap it up here. Episode 10 of the Deloading Podcast. Everyone, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is going to be a special episode before game one, Thursday night. We got Boston heading to Golden State for game one. Zach, who wins game one and why, real quick, before we head out?
um, I'm gonna go with Golden State game one. Um, I think their experience is going to get them the early lead in this. They've also been resting. But I mean, it's the classic argument, rest versus rust. But I think the rest is really going to help Golden State, and they're just going to come out ready to play.
Yeah, I'm going with the Warriors too. Game one, I just long flight for Boston. I
Mm-hmm.
think those guys are going to be locked in. Zach, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time,
All
my
right.
man.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tapping in.